It was not born in a grand hall, not announced with trumpet fanfare. It was forced into existence on a boggy field in the dismal days of June 1215. The players? A failed and untrusted king, and a group of wealthy, armed men out of patience. The document they produced was meant to solve an immediate crisis. Yet, it would become something far greater. The first stone in the foundation of modern liberty. This is the true story of Magna Carta. Not a myth of freedom for all, but a bloody, practical bargain that changed the world. King John, son of Henry II and Eleanor of Aquitaine, was a brilliant administrator and a disastrous ruler. After losing Normandy, he was nicknamed John Softsword. To fund his desperate war to get it back, he squeezed England dry. He taxed the barons beyond custom. He imprisoned rivals without trial. He seized their lands on a whim. He turned the law, which was meant to be the king's peace, into the king's weapon. The barons, the most powerful men in the realm, saw their ancient privileges, their rights, evaporating. They were reaching a breaking point, embodying the proverb, "A king who oppresses the poor is like a driving rain that leaves no food." Proverbs 28:3. The final straw was John's fight with the church, leading to his excommunication. To make peace, he surrendered his kingdom to the Pope and received it back as a vassal, a humiliating act. But it brought back Stephen Langton, an archbishop who had a dangerous idea, the idea of ancient liberties.
See here, the Charter of Henry I, a century old. He promised to rule justly, to respect the laws of Edward the Confessor. The law is not the king's will. The king is under the law.
Words on parchment, Your Grace. John laughs at parchment.
Then we must make the words into a wall he cannot laugh through.
The barons renounced their fealty and took London. John had no choice but to negotiate. The meeting place was Runnymede, a neutral water meadow. The document presented to John was not a philosophical treatise. It was a practical list of 63 grievances and solutions, deeply feudal, focused on the rights of free men, not all men.
They would put the crown in chains. To ask this of me is to ask me to be no king at all.
Sire, to sign is to buy time. To refuse is to lose the kingdom before sunset.
Buried in the technicalities were revolutionary seeds. Clause 39. No free man shall be seized or imprisoned, except by the lawful judgment of his equals or by the law of the land, the germ of trial by jury and habeas corpus. Clause 40. To no one will we sell. To no one deny or delay right or justice. Clause 12 and 14. No scutage or tax without the common council of the kingdom, the seed of parliamentary consent. It was a contract. In return for their loyalty, the barons demanded the king obey the rules. It was a feudal covenant, mirroring the biblical covenant between a king and his people under God. As the Book of Kings shows, even David was subject to the prophet Nathan's judgment. The peace lasted about 10 weeks. John had no intention of keeping his word. He appealed to his feudal overlord, the Pope, who obligingly annulled it. The barons rebelled and invited a French prince to invade. John died of dysentery in 1216 amid the chaos. The regents, for his young son, Henry III, quickly reissued Magna Carta to win support. It was reissued again and again. Each time, it was reaffirmed. It stuck. Magna Carta slept, then awoke, centuries later. Lawyers like Sir Edward Coke resurrected it in the 17th century to fight the divine right of kings. Puritan colonists took its principles to America. It became a symbol not of baronial privilege, but of the universal idea that power must have limits, and law must be above the ruler. Implications: the rule of law, It established the principle that the king's will was not law. The law was a separate, higher authority. Due process. It planted the idea that justice cannot be arbitrary. It requires procedure and judgment by peers. The seed of consent. The idea that taxation requires consultation evolved into no taxation without representation. The Magna Carta's greatest truth is this: words on parchment, if fought for and believed in, can become stronger than armies. It began as a selfish document for the elite, but its core idea, that authority is bound by law, proved infinitely adaptable. It resonated because it tapped into a deep, ancient biblical principle. Even kings are under judgment. As the wise man said, "It is not good to have zeal without knowledge, nor to be hasty and miss the way." Proverbs 19:2. The barons had zeal, but Langton gave them the knowledge of precedent. Together, they found a new way. What you may not have thought of. Magna Carta did not create democracy, but it created the habitat in which democracy could later grow. By limiting the crown, it gave space for other institutions, Parliament, the courts, to gain strength. It taught that liberty often advances not through utopian dreams, but through gritty, practical disputes over power, property, and procedure. Its most important legacy is not a specific right, but the revolutionary notion that those who govern can be forced by the governed to put their promises in writing. This is Hidden Histories. Like, share, and subscribe for more biblical mysteries, ancient truths, and forbidden knowledge revealed daily.